The clash of swords, the roar of armies, and the weight of destiny, it all began on the plains of Troy. Achilles, the greatest warrior of the Greeks, faced Hector, the noble defender of his city, in a duel that would echo through the ages. Their rivalry wasn't just about personal glory. It was a battle that shaped the fate of an entire civilization. But what if Hector had won? What if the gods had intervened differently? Would the ancient world as we know it even exist? This is the power of mythological rivalries. They're not just tales of conflict, but stories that define the very fabric of history. Today, we're diving into 30 of the most epic rivalries that changed the course of ancient worlds. From gods who meddled in mortal affairs to heroes whose choices altered empires, these stories are more than myths. They're lessons in power, ambition, and the fragile threads of destiny. And it all starts with the first rivalry, one that set the stage for everything that followed. Long before the gods of Olympus ruled the heavens, the world was ruled by the Titans, ancient beings of immense power, led by Cronus, who sat atop the cosmic throne. But fear gnawed at Cronus, a fear prophesied by his own mother, Gaia, that one of his children would overthrow him, just as he had overthrown his father, Uranus. Determined to defy fate, Cronus made a horrifying choice. Each time his wife Re gave birth, he swallowed the child whole, locking them away in the dark void of his stomach. One by one, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon were consumed, their cries silenced before they could even take their first breath. But when Zeus was born, Re devised a plan. She hid the infant Zeus in a cave on Crete, tricking Cronus with a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes. Unaware, Cronus swallowed the stone, believing his line of succession was secure. Years later, Zeus, now grown and armed with the wisdom of Gaia, returned to challenge his father. What followed was the Titanomachy, a cataclysmic war that shook the very foundations of the cosmos. The Titans, led by Cronus, clashed with the Olympians, led by Zeus, in a battle so fierce it threatened to tear the world apart. Mountains crumbled, rivers boiled, and the sky itself seemed to split asunder. As Hesiod writes in the Theogony, the boundless sea roared terribly, earth crashed loudly, and the wide heaven groaned shaken. The stakes were nothing less than the fate of the universe. In the end, Zeus and his siblings emerged victorious, casting the Titans into the depths of Tartarus. This victory marked the dawn of a new era, the age of the Olympians. But this wasn't just a shift in divine power. It was a turning point in Greek mythology that shaped the cultural and spiritual identity of an entire civilization. The story of Zeus and Cronus wasn't merely about gods and giants. It was a tale of rebellion, destiny, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos. And yet, this divine conflict wasn't just confined to the heavens. It mirrored the very human struggles of power, succession, and the fear of being overthrown, themes that would resonate throughout Greek history and beyond. As we move to the next rivalry, we'll see how these celestial battles often found their echoes in the mortal world, where heroes and kings fought not just for glory, but for the very survival of their people. In the fertile lands of ancient Egypt, where the Nile's life-giving waters flowed, a tale of betrayal, resurrection, and divine justice unfolded. Osiris, the beloved god-king, ruled with wisdom and compassion, bringing prosperity and order to the land. His reign embodied Mat, the sacred principle of harmony and balance that sustained the cosmos. But not everyone celebrated his rule. His brother Set, consumed by envy and ambition, plotted to overthrow him. Set's heart burned with a desire for power, and he saw Osiris not as a brother but as an obstacle to his own ascent. One fateful night, Set lured Osiris into a lavish banquet, a trap disguised as a celebration. He unveiled a beautifully crafted chest, promising it to whoever fit inside. When Osiris stepped into the chest, Set and his conspirators sealed it shut and cast it into the Nile, drowning the god-king. The land of Egypt fell into mourning, its balance shattered. Chaos or Isfet began to seep into the world, threatening to consume everything Osiris had built. But Osiris's story didn't end there. His devoted wife, Isis, goddess of magic and healing, embarked on a perilous journey to recover his body. Through her unwavering determination and powerful spells, she resurrected Osiris, if only temporarily. Their union resulted in the birth of Horus, the falcon-headed god destined to avenge his father. When Horus came of age, he challenged Set in a series of brutal battles, each clash a reflection of the cosmic struggle between order and chaos. The gods themselves intervened, weighing the claims of both sides, and in the end, Horus emerged victorious, restoring Maat to Egypt. This myth wasn't just a story, it was a mirror of the natural and political world. The Nile's annual flooding, which brought life to the land, mirrored Osiris's death and rebirth. The stability of Egypt's kingdom depended on the triumph of order over chaos, a lesson etched into the hearts of its people. The rivalry between Osiris and Set became a timeless reminder that even in the face of betrayal and destruction, balance could be restored. As we move forward, we'll see how sibling rivalries like this one often carried profound consequences, not just for the gods, but for the mortals who looked to them for guidance. These conflicts weren't just personal, they shaped the very foundations of civilizations, leaving an indelible mark on the world. In the icy realms of Norse mythology, where gods and giants waged eternal battles, one rivalry stood out as both epic and apocalyptic: Thor, the thunder god, and Jörmungandr, the monstrous world serpent. This wasn't just a clash of strength, it was a cosmic struggle that would define the fate of the 9 realms. Jörmungandr, born of Loki's union with the giantess Angrboda, grew so vast that he encircled Midgard, the realm of humans, his body forming an endless loop in the ocean. The serpent's very existence was a symbol of chaos and destruction, a constant threat to the order upheld by the Aesir gods. Thor, the protector of Asgard and humanity, saw Jörmungandr as his ultimate adversary. Their encounters were legendary, but one of the most dramatic took place during a fishing trip with the giant Hymir. As the prose Edda recounts, Thor baited his hook with the head of a massive ox and cast his line into the depths. Jörmungandr took the bait, and Thor, with all his divine might, hauled the serpent to the surface. The sight was terrifying. Jörmungandr's venomous breath filled the air, his eyes burned with malice, and the sea churned violently as the 2 titans faced off. Thor raised his hammer, Mjolnir, ready to strike a fatal blow, but Hymir, overcome with fear, cut the line, allowing the serpent to escape back into the abyss. This near victory wasn't just a tale of heroism, it was a harbinger of Ragnarok, the prophesied end of the world. According to Norse belief, the final battle between Thor and Jörmungandr would be their last. Thor would slay the serpent, but not before succumbing to its venom, dying after taking only 9 steps. This cyclical narrative of destruction and renewal was central to Norse cosmology. Ragnarok wasn't just an end, it was a necessary rebirth, a reminder that even gods must face their limits and that chaos and order are locked in an endless dance. The rivalry between Thor and Jörmungandr also reflects a deeper truth about mythological creatures. They often embody humanity's greatest fears and challenges. Jörmungandr, with his immense size and destructive power, represents the uncontrollable forces of nature: earthquakes, storms, and the vast, unknowable depths of the ocean. Thor's struggle against the serpent is a metaphor for humanity's own battle against these existential threats, a reminder that even the mightiest among us must confront forces beyond our control. As we move forward, we'll see how these mythological creatures, whether gods, giants, or beasts, often serve as mirrors to the human condition. They challenge us, test us, and force us to confront the limits of our power and understanding. And in their stories, we find not just entertainment, but profound lessons about resilience, courage, and the eternal cycle of life and death. In the lush, ancient forests and golden palaces of India, a story unfolds that has shaped the spiritual and cultural fabric of an entire civilization, the Ramayana. At its heart lies the epic rivalry between Rama, the virtuous prince of Ayodhya, and Ravana, the 10-headed demon king of Lanka. This wasn't just a battle of strength, it was a clash of ideals, a struggle between dharma, righteousness, and adharma, the forces of chaos and corruption. Ravana, despite his immense power and wisdom, was a figure consumed by pride. A devout scholar and a great devotee of Shiva, he had been blessed with near invincibility by the gods themselves. But his arrogance knew no bounds. He defied the natural order, kidnapping Sita, Rama's beloved wife, and bringing her to his island fortress of Lanka. This act was the spark that ignited a war, not just for Sita's freedom, but for the very soul of the universe. Rama, an incarnation of the god Vishnu, embodied Dharma in every breath. His journey to rescue Sita was not just a personal quest, but a cosmic mission. With his loyal brother Lakshmana and the devoted monkey warrior Hanuman by his side, Rama crossed oceans and mountains, facing trials that tested his resolve and his faith. When the armies of Rama and Ravana finally met on the battlefield, the skies darkened with arrows and the earth trembled under the weight of their divine weapons. Rama's bow, the mighty Kodanda, unleashed arrows that shone like the sun, each one carrying the power of the gods. Ravana, wielding his celestial sword and chariot, fought with ferocity, but his strength was no match for Rama's righteousness. The Ramayana describes the final duel as a spectacle of light and shadow, where every strike echoed the eternal struggle between good and evil. In the end, Rama's arrow pierced Ravana's heart, ending his reign of terror and restoring balance to the world. This rivalry wasn't just about the defeat of a tyrant, it was a lesson in the power of Dharma. Ravana's downfall was not just due to Rama's divine weapons, but his own hubris. His defiance of the gods and his disregard for the natural order made his defeat inevitable. Rama, on the other hand, showed that true strength lies in humility, devotion, and unwavering adherence to what is right. The story of Rama and Ravana continues to inspire millions, reminding us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, heroism and righteousness can prevail. It's a tale that transcends time, offering timeless lessons about the consequences of our choices and the importance of living in harmony with the universe. As we move forward, we'll see how heroism often emerges not just from strength, but from the courage to stand against the tide of darkness. These stories remind us that even in the most dire circumstances, the light of righteousness can guide us to victory. In the ancient city of Uruk, where towering ziggurats pierced the heavens and the Euphrates flowed like a ribbon of life, there lived a king unlike any other, Gilgamesh. Strong, fearless, and blessed by the gods, he was a ruler of unmatched power. But Gilgamesh's strength came with a shadow. His arrogance knew no bounds, and his people suffered under his relentless demands. He took what he wanted, leaving his subjects to groan under the weight of his tyranny. The gods, watching from above, decided it was time to intervene. They created Enkidu, a wild man born of the earth, untouched by the trappings of civilization. Covered in hair and living among the beasts, Enkidu was nature incarnate, a force of untamed strength designed to humble Gilgamesh. When word of this wild man reached the king, Gilgamesh saw him as a threat, a rival who could challenge his dominance. Their first encounter was explosive, a clash of titans that shook the walls of Uruk. The Epic of Gilgamesh describes their battle as a storm of fists and fury, with neither willing to yield. but as the dust settled, something extraordinary happened. Instead of hatred, respect grew between them. This moment marked the beginning of one of mythology's greatest friendships. Gilgamesh and Enkidu, once bitter enemies, became inseparable. Together, they embarked on legendary adventures, slaying monsters and defying gods. Enkidu's wild wisdom tempered Gilgamesh's arrogance, teaching him the value of humility and compassion. Through their bond, Gilgamesh transformed from a tyrant into a wise and just ruler, a leader who truly understood the weight of his crown. Their story is more than a tale of friendship. It's a profound exploration of the tension between civilization and nature. Gilgamesh, the symbol of human ambition and progress, finds balance through Enkidu, who embodies the untamed world. Their alliance reminds us that true strength lies not in dominance but in understanding and harmony. As the Epic of Gilgamesh poignantly states, two men united can accomplish what one alone cannot. But their journey didn't end there. After Enkidu's untimely death, Gilgamesh is plunged into grief, setting him on a quest for immortality. This search, filled with trials and revelations, underscores the fragility of human life and the inevitability of loss. It's a reminder that even the greatest among us must confront our mortality. The rivalry and eventual friendship of Gilgamesh and Enkidu teach us that conflict, when approached with an open heart, can lead to transformation. Their story shows how even the fiercest enemies can become the deepest allies, shaping not just their own destinies, but the fate of an entire civilization. As we move forward, we'll see how rivalries often serve as crucibles for growth, forging bonds that transcend the battlefield and redefine the very essence of heroism. These stories remind us that even in the heat of conflict, there's potential for profound change, not just for individuals, but for the world they inhabit. From the heights of Olympus to the mortal world below, the story of Hera and Heracles is one of divine vengeance and unyielding perseverance. Hera, queen of the gods and Zeus's wife, stood as the embodiment of marital loyalty and divine authority. But her wrath was legendary, especially when it came to Heracles, Zeus's illegitimate son with the mortal Alcmene. From the moment of his birth, Heracles became the target of Hera's unrelenting fury, a living reminder of her husband's infidelity. Heracles' very name, meaning glory of Hera, was a cruel irony. Instead of honoring the goddess, his existence enraged her. Hera's first act of vengeance came swiftly. She sent two serpents to his cradle, hoping to end his life before it had truly begun. But even as an infant, Heracles displayed the strength that would define him. With tiny hands, he strangled the snakes, a chilling foreshadowing of the trials to come. Hera's wrath only grew as Heracles did. She plagued his life with misfortune, driving him to madness in one tragic instance. In a fit of insanity, Heracles killed his own wife and children, a horror that haunted him for the rest of his days. To atone for this crime, he was sentenced to perform 12 seemingly impossible tasks, the famous labors of Heracles. Each labor, from slaying the Nemean lion to capturing Cerberus, the hound of the underworld, was a testament to his strength, ingenuity, and endurance. These trials were not just physical challenges, they were Hera's relentless attempts to break him. Yet, with every labor he completed, Heracles grew stronger, not just in body but in spirit. His journey became a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even the greatest suffering can be overcome with determination and courage. The imagery of Heracles grappling with the Hydra or holding the heavens on his shoulders is more than myth, it's a universal story of struggle and triumph. Hera's jealousy and Heracles' resilience also reveal a deeper truth about the relationship between gods and mortals in Greek mythology. Divine whims could shape mortal lives in profound and often devastating ways, but they could also inspire greatness. Heracles' story is one of transformation, from a man cursed by a goddess to a hero revered by all. This rivalry between Hera and Heracles underscores how jealousy and conflict, even among the gods, could forge destinies that resonated through the ages. It's a tale of endurance, of turning torment into triumph, and of the indomitable spirit that defines true heroism. As we move forward, we'll see how divine rivalries often spilled into the mortal realm, shaping not just individual lives but the very course of history. The gods may have ruled the heavens, but their battles and passions left an indelible mark on the world below. In the land of the rising sun, where myth and nature intertwine, the tale of Amaterasu and Susanoo stands as one of Japan's most profound legends. Amaterasu, the radiant sun goddess, brought light and life to the world, her presence a symbol of order and prosperity. Susanoo, her tempestuous brother, embodied the untamed forces of the storm, wild, unpredictable, and often destructive. Their relationship was a fragile balance, a reflection of the natural world's dualities, light and dark, calm and chaos. But when that balance shattered, the consequences were catastrophic. The rivalry between Amaterasu and Susanoo began with a series of escalating conflicts. According to the Kojiki, one of Japan's oldest chronicles, Susanoo's jealousy and unchecked rage drove him to wreak havoc in Amaterasu's sacred realm. He destroyed her rice fields, defiled her temples, and even flung a flayed horse into her weaving hall, an act so horrifying it caused the death of one of her attendants. Amaterasu, heartbroken and enraged, retreated into the Aim no Iwato, the heavenly rock cave, plunging the world into darkness. Without her light, crops withered, spirits faltered, and chaos reigned. The gods, desperate to restore light and order, devised a clever plan to lure Amaterasu out of her cave. They gathered outside the entrance and staged a joyous celebration, complete with music, dancing, and laughter. The goddess Usum performed a provocative dance, her antics so amusing that the gods erupted in uproarious laughter. Curious, Amaterasu peeked out to see what was happening. When she caught sight of her own radiant reflection in a mirror placed by the gods, she was momentarily stunned. In that moment, the gods seized the opportunity to pull her out of the cave, restoring light to the world. This myth is more than a story of sibling rivalry. It's a profound allegory for the cycles of nature and the delicate balance of life. Amaterasu's retreat and return mirror the changing seasons, the ebb and flow of light and darkness that govern the natural world. Susanoo, though initially a force of destruction, eventually found redemption. His chaotic energy, once a threat to order, became a necessary part of the world's harmony, reminding us that even storms have their place in the grand design. The Kojiki describes this reconciliation as a turning point, a moment when the gods acknowledged the need for balance between opposing forces. As the text states, the world is made whole not by the absence of conflict, but by the restoration of harmony after the storm. This lesson resonates deeply in Japanese culture, where the interplay of light and shadow, calm and chaos, is seen as essential to the beauty and complexity of life. As we move forward, we'll see how sibling rivalries often mirror the natural world cycles, reflecting the eternal dance between creation and destruction. These stories remind us that even the fiercest conflicts can lead to renewal, shaping the world in ways that are both profound and enduring. The plains of Troy were drenched in blood and lit by the fires of war, but amidst the chaos, one duel stood above all others, a clash that would become the stuff of legend. Achilles, the invincible warrior of the Greeks, faced Hector, the noble defender of Troy, in a battle that transcended mere combat. It was a collision of ideals, a moment where personal vengeance met the weight of duty, and where the fate of a city hung in the balance. Hector, though mortal, embodied the virtues of a true hero. A devoted husband, father, and protector of his people, he fought not for personal glory but for the survival of Troy. His courage was unwavering even as he stood against Achilles, a demigod whose rage was unmatched. That rage had been ignited by the death of Patroclus, Achilles' closest companion, slain by Hector in battle. For Achilles, this was no longer a war for honor or victory. It was a quest for revenge. Homer's Iliad captures the emotional intensity of their encounter with breathtaking clarity. As Hector faced Achilles outside the walls of Troy, he knew the odds were against him. Yet he stood firm, refusing to retreat. The two warriors circled each other, their spears flashing like lightning, their shields clashing with the force of thunder. Hector fought with the strength of a man who knew his city depended on him, while Achilles moved with the fury of a storm, his every strike fueled by grief and wrath. When Hector fell, the world seemed to hold its breath. Achilles dragged his body behind his chariot, a final act of humiliation that shocked even the gods. Yet, in that moment of triumph, there was no joy for Achilles, only emptiness. Hector's death, while a personal victory, could not fill the void left by Patroclus. The Iliad poignantly reminds us that even the greatest of heroes are bound by their humanity, their victories often bittersweet. This rivalry wasn't just about two warriors, it was a microcosm of the Trojan War itself, a conflict where individual desires clashed with the greater good. Achilles fought for personal vengeance while Hector fought for his people. Their duel symbolizes the eternal tension between self-interest and collective responsibility, a theme that resonates across cultures and centuries. As we move forward, we'll see how mortal rivalries often mirrored the struggles of the gods, their battles echoing the celestial conflicts that shaped the ancient world. These stories remind us that the line between hero and villain is often blurred, and that even in the midst of war, there are lessons to be learned about honor, sacrifice, and the cost of glory. In the shadowed halls of Asgard, where the gods of the Norse pantheon gathered, a foreboding prophecy loomed over them like a storm cloud. Fenrir, the monstrous wolf born of Loki and the giantess Angabotha, was destined to play a pivotal role in Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. His very existence was a harbinger of doom, for it was foretold that he would one day break free from his chains and slay Odin, the All-Father himself. This was no ordinary rivalry. It was a battle against fate, a struggle between divine authority and the primal forces of chaos. Fenrir's growth was as rapid as it was terrifying. The gods, aware of the prophecy, sought to curb his power by binding him, but Fenrir was no ordinary beast. His strength was unmatched and his cunning rivaled that of the gods. Twice they tried to chain him, and twice he broke free, his howls shaking the heavens. The third attempt, however, was different. The dwarves, master craftsmen, forged a magical ribbon called Gleipnir, thin as a thread but stronger than any mortal chain. Fenrir, suspicious but proud, agreed to be bound only if one of the gods placed their hand in his mouth as a pledge of trust. Tyr, the god of war and justice, stepped forward, knowing the cost of his bravery. As the gods fastened Gleipnir around Fenrir, the wolf struggled, realizing too late that he had been deceived. In his rage, he bit off Tyr's hand, but the deed was done. Fenrir was bound, his fury echoing through the realms. This act of binding wasn't just about restraining a beast. It was a desperate attempt by the gods to delay their own destruction. Fenrir's chains symbolized the fragility of order in the face of chaos, the thin thread that holds back the inevitable. Odin, the wise and powerful ruler of Asgard, knew that his fate was sealed, yet he fought to postpone it, a poignant reminder that even gods are not immune to the forces of destiny. The rivalry between Odin and Fenrir is more than a tale of gods and monsters. It's a reflection of humanity's own struggle with inevitability. Fenrir embodies the primal fears that lurk in the shadows of our minds, fear of the unknown, of loss, of the end that awaits us all. The gods' fear of Fenrir mirrors our own anxieties, their attempts to bind him a metaphor for how we try to control the uncontrollable. As we move forward, we'll see how mythological creatures often serve as vessels for these deep-seated fears, their stories offering us a way to confront and understand the chaos within and around us. But for now, the tale of Odin and Fenrir stands as a stark reminder that even the mightiest among us must face the inexorable march of time, and that sometimes the chains we forge are as much about protecting ourselves as they are about restraining the forces we fear. In the golden sands of ancient Egypt, where the gods walked among mortals and the Nile's waters carried the promise of life, a rivalry of cosmic proportions unfolded, one that would define the struggle between order and chaos for generations. Horus, the falcon-headed god of the sky, stood as the rightful heir to the throne of Egypt, a symbol of justice and divine order. His uncle, Set, the god of storms and deserts, embodied chaos and usurpation, a force of disruption that sought to claim the throne for himself. Their conflict was not merely a battle for power, it was a fight for the soul of Egypt itself. The contendings of Horus and Set, an ancient Egyptian text, recounts their legendary struggles in vivid detail. One of the most dramatic episodes was a contest of strength and wits, where the gods themselves served as judges. Set, cunning and ruthless, proposed a series of challenges designed to outmatch Horus. In one trial, the two transformed into hippopotamuses and plunged into the Nile, each attempting to drown the other. The waters churned violently as the gods wrestled, their struggle mirroring the eternal tension between order and chaos. But Horus, guided by the wisdom of his mother, Isis, and the favor of the gods, proved to be more than a match for Set's schemes. In another trial, Set tore out Horus's eye, scattering its pieces across the land. Yet Horus, with the help of Thoth, the god of wisdom, restored his eye, turning his loss into a symbol of resilience and renewal. This act became the Eye of Horus, a powerful emblem of protection and healing in Egyptian mythology. The rivalry between Horus and Set is steeped in symbolism. Horus represents Maat, the divine order that sustains the universe, while Set embodies Isfet, the chaos that threatens to unravel it. Their battles are a metaphor for the struggle to restore balance after disruption, a theme that resonated deeply with the ancient Egyptians. As the contendings of Horus and Set states, the land thrives when the rightful ruler sits upon the throne and falters when chaos reigns. This myth also explores the complexities of succession and legitimacy, themes that echo throughout history. Horus's claim to the throne, rooted in his lineage and divine right, contrasts sharply with Set's ambition and defiance. Their rivalry reminds us that power, when seized without justice, can lead to destruction, but when wielded with wisdom, it can bring prosperity and harmony. As we turn to the next rivalry, we'll see how the struggle for power and legitimacy often transcends mortal and divine realms, shaping the myths and histories of cultures across the globe. These stories remind us that the quest for justice and order is as old as civilization itself, a timeless narrative that continues to inspire and challenge us today. High atop the Acropolis, where the winds of the Aegean Sea whisper through ancient ruins, a legendary contest once took place, one that would forever shape the identity of a city and its people. This was the rivalry between Athena, goddess of wisdom and strategy, and Poseidon, god of the seas and earthquakes, as they vied to become the patron deity of Athens. Their competition was not just a test of divine power but a clash of ideals, a moment where the fate of a city would be decided by the gifts they offered. Poseidon, ever the tempestuous god, struck the rocky ground with his mighty trident, and from the earth sprang a saltwater spring. A symbol of naval dominance and the boundless sea, his gift was meant to showcase Athens' potential as a maritime power. But the spring, while impressive, was briny and undrinkable, a reminder of the sea's untamed nature. The people of Athens marveled at the spectacle, but their admiration was tinged with uncertainty. Athena, calm and deliberate, stepped forward next. With a gentle touch, she planted a seed in the barren soil. Before the eyes of the gathered crowd, it grew into a lush olive tree, a source of food, oil, and wood, symbols of peace, prosperity, and sustainability. The olive tree was not just a gift, it was a promise of stability and growth, a testament to the power of wisdom over raw strength. The people, seeing the tangible benefits of Athena's offering, declared her the victor. This myth, immortalized in the carvings of the Parthenon, became a cornerstone of Athenian identity. The city, named in Athena's honor, embraced her ideals of wisdom, culture, and civic pride. The olive tree, sacred to Athena, became a symbol of the city's resilience and its commitment to enlightenment. Even today, the Parthenon stands as a testament to this divine rivalry, its columns and friezes telling the story of a contest that shaped the soul of a civilization. The rivalry between Athena and Poseidon also reveals a deeper truth about the ancient world. The gods were not just distant figures of worship but active participants in the lives of their people. Their competitions and conflicts often mirrored the values and priorities of the societies that revered them. In choosing Athena, the people of Athens signaled their desire for a city built on intellect, creativity, and harmony rather than sheer power or dominance. As we move to the next rivalry, we'll see how these divine contests often left lasting marks on the cities and cultures they touched. From the olive groves of Athens to the temples of distant lands, the stories of gods and their rivalries remind us that even in the realm of myth, choices have consequences, and the gifts we choose to embrace can shape the course of history. In the realm of Norse mythology, where gods and giants walk the line between creation and destruction, one rivalry stands out as a clash of opposites: Loki, the cunning trickster, and Heimdall, the steadfast guardian of Asgard. Their feud was not just a personal vendetta, it was a cosmic struggle between chaos and order, a battle that would reach its climax during Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. Loki, the shape-shifting god of mischief, was a master of deception. His schemes often brought both laughter and ruin to the gods, earning him a reputation as both a friend and a foe. Heimdall, on the other hand, was the ever-watchful sentinel, standing at the edge of Asgard to guard the Bifrost, the rainbow bridge connecting the realms. With his golden horn, Gjallarhorn, and his piercing sight, which could see for hundreds of miles by day or night, Heimdall embodied vigilance and duty. These two gods could not have been more different: Loki, the agent of chaos, and Heimdall, the protector of order. The poetic Edda paints their final confrontation in vivid detail. As Ragnarok unfolds, the world descends into chaos. The skies darken, the seas rise, and the earth trembles under the weight of the gods' battles. Amid this apocalyptic scene, Loki and Heimdall face off in a duel that will seal both their fates. The trickster and the watchman, locked in a struggle that mirrors the collapse of the cosmos itself. Their battle is fierce and unrelenting, each strike echoing the tension between their opposing natures. In the end, they kill each other, their deaths a poignant reminder that even the forces of chaos and order are bound by the inevitability of Ragnarok. This rivalry is more than a myth, it's a reflection of the delicate balance that exists in all things. Loki's chaos, though often destructive, is also a source of creativity and change. Heimdall's order, while essential for stability, can sometimes stifle progress. Together, they represent the eternal dance between disruption and harmony, a theme that resonates in both mythology and the human experience. As the poetic Edda states, the world is woven of both shadow and light, and neither can exist without the other. Trickster figures like Loki appear in myths across cultures, challenging authority and pushing boundaries. They remind us that growth often comes from disruption, that even the most rigid systems need to be shaken to evolve. The story of Loki and Heimdall is a testament to this truth. showing how even the fiercest rivals can shape the destiny of the world. As we turn to the next rivalry, we'll see how these trickster figures continue to challenge the status quo, forcing gods and mortals alike to confront the limits of their power and the necessity of change. Their stories are not just tales of mischief, they are lessons in adaptability, resilience, and the ever-shifting balance of the universe. In the rugged mountains of ancient Greece, where the air hummed with divine energy, a young god embarked on a quest that would forever change the spiritual landscape of the ancient world. Apollo, the radiant god of light, music, and prophecy, sought to establish his oracle at Delphi, a place already steeped in mystical power, but this sacred site was not unguarded. Python, a monstrous serpent born of the earth, coiled around the spring at Delphi, its very presence a reminder of the primordial chaos that once ruled the world. This was no ordinary serpent. Python was a child of Gaia, the earth goddess, and its role was to protect the sacred spring, a source of prophetic power. To claim Delphi, Apollo had to face this ancient beast, a creature that embodied the darkness and unpredictability of the untamed world. The battle was fierce. Apollo, armed with his silver bow and arrows forged by Hephaestus, confronted Python in a clash that shook the mountains and echoed through the heavens. The Homeric hymn to Apollo describes the god's triumph as swift and decisive. His arrows struck true, piercing Python's scaly hide and ending its reign. But victory came at a cost. As the blood of Python soaked the earth, Apollo was tainted by the act of killing a creature tied so closely to Gaia. To cleanse himself, he underwent a ritual of purification, traveling to the Vale of Tempe where the waters washed away his guilt. This act of atonement was crucial, not just for Apollo's own sanctity, but for the sanctity of the oracle he was about to establish. Delphi, now free from Python's shadow, became the center of Apollo's prophetic power. The Pythia, the oracle who spoke his divine words, sat above a chasm where Python's body was said to lie, her prophecies infused with the energy of both the slain serpent and the god who conquered it. The Delphic oracle became one of the most revered institutions in the ancient world, a place where kings and commoners alike sought guidance, its words shaping the course of empires. This myth of Apollo and Python is more than a tale of divine conquest. It's a powerful symbol of the triumph of light over darkness, order over chaos. Apollo, as the god of light, represents clarity, reason, and the arts forces that elevate humanity. Python, on the other hand, embodies the raw, untamed power of the earth, a reminder of the world's primordial origins. Their rivalry is a metaphor for the eternal struggle to bring meaning and structure to a chaotic universe. Delphi itself became a living testament to this victory. The site's cultural significance extended far beyond its prophetic role. It was a place of pilgrimage, a hub of intellectual and spiritual exchange, and a reminder of the god's influence on mortal lives. The Pythian Games, held in Apollo's honor, brought together athletes and artists from across Greece, celebrating the harmony and enlightenment that Apollo represented. As we move forward, we'll see how myths often serve as explanations for the origins of sacred sites, weaving together the divine and the earthly. These stories remind us that the places we hold sacred are often born from conflict and transformation, their power shaped by the struggles that came before. And in the next rivalry, we'll explore how these sacred spaces continue to inspire and connect us, bridging the gap between the mortal and the divine. In the ancient land of Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers carved life into the desert, a story of creation emerged that would shape the spiritual worldview of an entire civilization. At the heart of this tale was a cosmic battle so monumental that it gave birth to the world itself. This was the rivalry between Marduk, the young god of storms and wisdom, and Tiamat, the primordial goddess of the saltwater sea, a being of chaos and infinite potential. Their clash was not just a fight for dominance, it was the struggle to bring order out of chaos, to transform the void into a cosmos. Tiamat, described in the Babylonian epic Enuma Elish as a vast and terrifying force, embodied the untamed waters that existed before creation. She was both mother and monster, the source of all life and the chaos that threatened to consume it. Her consort, Apsu, the god of freshwater, sought to destroy the younger gods who had emerged from their union, fearing their noise and energy. But Tiamat, initially reluctant, was driven to rage when Apsu was slain by the god E, father of Marduk. In her grief and fury, she unleashed an army of monstrous creatures, each more fearsome than the last, to avenge her loss and restore chaos to the universe. Enter Marduk, a god of unparalleled power and ambition. When the younger gods, terrified of Tiamat's wrath, turned to him for help, he agreed on one condition, that they make him their supreme ruler. Armed with the winds and storms as his weapons, Marduk faced Tiamat in a battle that would decide the fate of existence itself. The Enuma Elish describes the confrontation in vivid detail. Marduk, riding a chariot pulled by 4 fearsome steeds, charged into the fray, his eyes blazing like the sun. He unleashed his winds, filling Tiamat's mouth and belly, rendering her unable to fight back. With a single, decisive strike, he pierced her heart, ending her reign of chaos. But Marduk's victory was only the beginning. From Tiamat's body, he fashioned the heavens and the earth, her ribs becoming the vault of the sky, her tears forming the rivers, and her blood giving life to humanity. This act of creation was not just a physical transformation. It was a symbolic ordering of the universe, a triumph of structure over formlessness. As the Enuma Elish proclaims, he split her like a shellfish into 2 parts. Half of her he set up and sealed it as sky, pulled down the bar and posted guards. He bade them to allow not her waters to escape. This myth of Marduk and Tiamat is more than a creation story. It's a profound meditation on the nature of existence. Tiamat represents the primal chaos that precedes creation, the raw, unshaped potential from which all things emerge. Marduk, in contrast, embodies the forces of order and civilization, the divine will that shapes chaos into a livable world. Their rivalry is a metaphor for the human experience, a reminder that every act of creation requires the taming of chaos, whether it's building a city, writing a song, or simply living a meaningful life. As we move forward, we'll see how creation myths across cultures often revolve around such cosmic battles, where gods and monsters clash to bring the world into being. These stories remind us that creation is never a peaceful process, it's a struggle, a negotiation between chaos and order, destruction and renewal. And in the next rivalry, we'll explore how this theme continues to resonate, shaping the myths and beliefs of civilizations far and wide. The island of Crete, with its towering palaces and winding corridors, held a secret that struck fear into the hearts of all who knew it, a labyrinth so vast and intricate that no one who entered could ever find their way out. At its heart lurked the Minotaur, a monstrous creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull, born from a curse cast by Poseidon upon King Minos. This was no ordinary beast. It was a symbol of divine punishment, a living reminder of the consequences of hubris and broken vows. Yet, for the young hero Theseus, the labyrinth was not just a prison, it was a challenge, a test of courage and cunning that would define his legacy. Theseus's journey to Crete was born of both duty and defiance. Every year, the city of Athens was forced to send 7 young men and 7 young women to Crete as tribute, a grim payment to satisfy the Minotaur's hunger. Theseus, determined to end this cycle of terror, volunteered to join the group, vowing to slay the beast and free his people from its shadow. His arrival in Crete marked the beginning of a battle not just against the Minotaur, but against the very forces of fear and despair that the labyrinth represented. But how does one defeat a monster in a maze designed to confound and entrap? Theseus's answer lay not just in strength but in strategy. Before entering the labyrinth, he secured the help of Ariadne, King Minos' daughter, who gave him a ball of thread to unravel as he ventured deeper into the maze. This simple yet ingenious tool became his lifeline, a thread of hope in the face of overwhelming darkness. As Theseus navigated the labyrinth's twisting passages, the thread trailed behind him, a fragile connection to the world outside, and a reminder that even in the most hopeless of places, ingenuity can light the way. The confrontation with the Minotaur was as brutal as it was symbolic. Theseus, armed with nothing but his wits and a sword, faced the beast in the heart of the labyrinth. The battle was fierce, a clash of man against monster, order against chaos. When Theseus emerged victorious, the Minotaur's roar silenced forever. It was more than a personal triumph, it was a victory for humanity itself. The labyrinth, once a place of terror, became a testament to the power of human ingenuity and determination. This myth of Theseus and the Minotaur resonates deeply because it speaks to a universal truth, that even the greatest challenges can be overcome with courage and cleverness. The labyrinth, with its endless twists and turns, is a metaphor for life's complexities, the obstacles that seem insurmountable at first glance. Theseus's triumph reminds us that even in the darkest of places, there is always a way forward if we're brave enough to look for it. As we turn to the next rivalry, we'll see how heroes throughout mythology faced their own labyrinths, their own monsters, and their own moments of truth. These stories remind us that the path to greatness is rarely straightforward, but it's the journey and the lessons we learn along the way that truly define us. In the ancient hymns of the Rig Veda, where the gods and the cosmos come alive in vivid poetry, one rivalry stands out as a testament to the eternal struggle between life and chaos: Indra, the king of the gods, and Vritra, the serpent of drought. This was no ordinary battle, it was a cosmic clash that determined the fate of the world itself. Vritra, a fearsome dragon, had coiled himself around the waters of the earth, hoarding them in his vast body and plunging the land into a devastating drought. Fields withered, rivers dried, and the cries of the desperate echoed across the barren plains. Indra, armed with his mighty thunderbolt, Vajra, rose to the challenge. The Rig Veda describes him as a warrior of unparalleled strength, a god who smashes the serpent, releases the waters, and brings life to the earth. His weapon, forged by the divine craftsman Tivastar, crackled with the power of storms, a symbol of the god's authority over the forces of nature. When Indra faced Vritra, the heavens trembled and the earth shook beneath their feet. With a thunderous roar, he hurled his thunderbolt, striking the serpent and releasing the pent-up waters in a torrential flood. The land, once parched and lifeless, was revived, its rivers flowing once more, its fields green and fertile. This myth is more than a tale of heroism. It's a profound allegory for the cycles of nature and the balance between creation and destruction. Vritra, the dragon of drought, embodies the forces of chaos and stagnation, a reminder that even life-giving waters can be held captive by greed and fear. Indra's victory, on the other hand, represents the triumph of order and renewal, the power of divine will to restore harmony to the world. As the Rig Veda proclaims, Indra, the slayer of Vritra, is the bringer of rain, the sustainer of life, the protector of the universe. The story of Indra and Vritra also reflects humanity's deep connection to the natural world. In a land where the monsoon rains are essential for survival, the myth explains the origins of this vital phenomenon, transforming the rains into a gift from the gods. It's a reminder that even the most destructive forces can be overcome, that life will always find a way to flourish, even in the face of adversity. Myths like this one often serve as explanations for the natural world, weaving together the divine and the earthly. They remind us that the forces of nature, whether rain or drought, storm or calm, are not just physical phenomena but stories, each with its own meaning and purpose. And as we move forward, we'll see how these stories continue to shape our understanding of the world, connecting us to the timeless rhythms of creation and renewal. In the windswept cliffs of the ancient world, where legends were born and heroes tested, a young man named Perseus faced a challenge that would cement his place among the greatest heroes of Greek mythology. His mission, to slay Medusa, the Gorgon whose serpentine hair writhed like a nest of vipers and whose gaze could turn any living creature to stone. For Perseus, this was no ordinary quest, it was a journey into the heart of terror, a confrontation with the very embodiment of fear itself. Medusa's story is one of tragedy and transformation. Once a beautiful maiden, she was cursed by Athena after an unfortunate encounter in the goddess's temple. Her hair turned to snakes, her gaze became deadly, and she was exiled to a remote island where she became a monster feared by all. But Medusa's curse wasn't just a punishment, it was a symbol of the dangers of hubris and the fragility of beauty. Her very existence served as a warning, a reminder that even the most alluring things could harbor destruction. Perseus, however, was not deterred. Armed with divine gifts from the gods, he set out to face the Gorgon. From Athena, he received a polished shield, its surface so reflective it could be used as a mirror. Hermes lent him winged sandals, allowing him to soar through the skies with the speed of the wind. And Hades himself provided a helm of invisibility, shrouding Perseus in shadow as he approached his prey. These tools were more than just weapons, they were symbols of the gods' favor, a testament to Perseus's courage and ingenuity. The confrontation with Medusa was a masterclass in strategy. Perseus, using Athena's shield as a mirror, avoided her deadly gaze, approaching her from behind. With a single, swift stroke, he severed her head, ending her reign of terror. But even in death, Medusa's power remained potent. Her severed head, still capable of turning enemies to stone, became one of the most powerful artifacts in Greek mythology, a weapon and a trophy that Perseus would wield in battles to come. This myth of Perseus and Medusa is more than a tale of heroism. It's a profound exploration of courage and fear. Medusa, with her petrifying gaze, represents the paralyzing power of terror, the kind that freezes us in our tracks and prevents us from moving forward. Perseus, by facing her head-on, embodies the triumph of bravery over fear, the strength to confront the monsters that haunt us, both real and imagined. The imagery of Medusa's head has endured through the ages, appearing on shields, coins, and even modern logos. It serves as a reminder of the power of myth to shape our understanding of the world, to transform fear into a symbol of protection and resilience. As the story of Perseus and Medusa shows, even the most terrifying adversaries can be overcome with courage, wit, and a little help from the gods. As we turn to the next rivalry, we'll see how myths often feature monstrous adversaries, each one a reflection of humanity's deepest fears and challenges. These stories remind us that the monsters we face are not just external, they are often within us, waiting to be confronted and conquered. And in their defeat, we find not just victory, but a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. From the lush jungles of Mesoamerica, where pyramids rise like mountains and the air shimmers with the echoes of ancient chants, comes a tale of gods locked in an eternal struggle, a rivalry that shaped the very fabric of the Aztec cosmos. This is the story of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, and Tezcatlipoca, the shadowy trickster, two deities whose conflicts brought about the rise and fall of entire worlds. Quetzalcoatl, the god of wisdom, wind, and life, was a benevolent force, a creator who brought knowledge, art, and agriculture to humanity. His feathered form symbolized the union of earth and sky, a bridge between the mundane and the divine. Tezcatlipoca, on the other hand, was his opposite, a god of night, sorcery, and chaos, whose obsidian mirror revealed the darkest truths of existence. Where Quetzalcoatl brought light, Tezcatlipoca reveled in shadows. Together, they embodied the dualities of the Aztec universe: creation and destruction, order and chaos, life and death. Their rivalry was not just a clash of personalities, it was a cosmic battle with profound consequences. According to Aztec mythology, the world we inhabit is the fifth sun, the latest in a series of creations. Each previous world, or sun, was destroyed due to the gods' conflicts, with Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca often at the center. In one version of the myth, Tezcatlipoca tricks Quetzalcoatl into overindulging in pulque, an alcoholic drink, leading to his humiliation and exile. This act of deception plunges the world into chaos, eventually resulting in its destruction. Yet, even in their conflict, there is a strange symbiosis. Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca are not simply enemies, they are necessary counterparts, each playing a role in the cycle of creation and destruction. The Aztecs believed that the world was inherently fragile, sustained only through sacrifice and balance. The fifth sun, under which we live, was said to have been born when the gods sacrificed themselves to set it in motion. This cyclical view of time, where worlds rise, fall, and are reborn, reflects the Aztec understanding of existence as a delicate dance between opposing forces. The imagery of the fifth sun is particularly striking. It represents not just a new era but the precariousness of life itself. The Aztecs believed that this world, like the ones before it, could end at any moment, destroyed by earthquakes, famine, or the whims of the gods. Their rituals and sacrifices were attempts to maintain balance, to appease the gods and stave off catastrophe. In this context, the rivalry between Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca becomes a metaphor for the fragility of existence, a reminder that even the most stable systems are built on shifting sands. This myth resonates deeply because it speaks to a universal truth: that life is a balance of opposing forces, and that creation often emerges from destruction. The story of Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca is not just a tale of gods, it's a reflection of humanity's own struggles with chaos and order, with the forces that build us up and tear us down. As we turn to the next rivalry, we'll see how myths from other cultures grapple with similar themes, exploring the tension between creation and destruction, stability and change. These stories remind us that the world is a fragile place, shaped by the interplay of forces we can barely comprehend, and that even in the face of uncertainty, there is always the possibility of renewal. In the mist-shrouded forests of Norse legend, where heroes are forged in fire and fate, a tale unfolds of a treasure so vast and cursed that it transforms a man into a monster. This is the story of Sigurd, the valiant hero, and Fafnir, the dragon who once was a man, a rivalry that delves deep into the darkness of greed and the cost of unchecked ambition. Fafnir was not always a dragon. Once he was a dwarf, the son of a powerful king, until he and his brother Regin discovered a hoard of gold guarded by the god Odin. But this treasure came with a curse, one that would corrupt any who claimed it. Fafnir, consumed by greed, murdered his father to seize the gold, then fled to the wilderness where his obsession transformed him into a monstrous dragon. His once human form withered away, replaced by scales and claws, his heart as cold and hard as the treasure he now protected. Enter Sigurd, a young warrior raised by Regin, who saw in his foster son the means to reclaim the cursed hoard. Regin forged a mighty sword for Sigurd, a weapon sharp enough to pierce dragon scales, and urged him to confront Fafnir. But Sigurd was no mere pawn in Regin's scheme. Guided by wisdom and courage, he dug a pit along Fafnir's path and waited, hidden, for the dragon to pass. As Fafnir slithered over the pit, Sigurd struck, driving his blade into the beast's heart. The Volsunga saga paints this moment with vivid intensity. Fafnir writhed in his death throes, his blood flooding the earth, his voice a thunderous roar that shook the heavens. With his dying breath, Fafnir warned Sigurd of the treasure's curse, but the hero, though wary, claimed the hoard, a decision that would set him on a path fraught with tragedy. This myth is more than a tale of heroism. It's a cautionary story about the corrosive power of greed. Fafnir's transformation from man to monster is a stark reminder of how unchecked desire can twist the soul, turning even the most noble into something unrecognizable. Sigurd's victory, while triumphant, comes with a price, as the cursed treasure brings only sorrow to those who possess it. The imagery of the dragon, a creature often associated with greed in mythology, serves as a powerful metaphor. Fafnir's hoard, glittering and vast, represents the allure of wealth and the lengths to which people will go to obtain it. Yet, as the myth reveals, such riches often come at a cost, poisoning the lives of those who seek them. Sigurd's story also highlights the importance of wisdom and restraint. Unlike Fafnir, who was consumed by his desire for gold, Sigurd approaches the treasure with caution, aware of its dangers. His bravery in slaying the dragon is matched by his prudence, a reminder that true heroism lies not just in strength, but in the ability to resist temptation. As we move to the next rivalry, we'll see how myths across cultures often serve as moral lessons, warning against the pitfalls of greed, pride, and other human failings. These stories remind us that the choices we make, especially in pursuit of power or wealth, can have profound consequences not just for ourselves, but for the world around us. Through the tale of Sigurd and Fafnir, we're invited to reflect on our own desires and the lengths we might go to achieve them. It's a timeless narrative, one that continues to resonate because it speaks to the universal struggle between ambition and integrity, between the glitter of gold and the weight of its cost. High above the clouds, where the sky stretches endlessly and the stars whisper secrets to the earth, there lived Niame, the all-powerful sky god of the Ashanti people. Niame held the world's most precious treasure, all the stories ever told. These stories were not just tales, they were the essence of wisdom, the threads that wove the fabric of culture and knowledge. But Niame guarded them fiercely, believing they were too valuable to be shared with mortals. That is, until a cunning challenger emerged, Anansi, the spider, a trickster whose wit was as sharp as Niame's power was vast. Anansi, small and seemingly insignificant, had a mind that spun webs far more intricate than the ones he wove with silk. Determined to claim the stories for humanity, he approached Niame with a bold proposition. The sky god, amused by the spider's audacity, set an impossible task. Anansi must capture 4 of the most dangerous creatures in the world: Asibo the leopard, Emmobro the hornet, Anini the python, and Emmosha the fairy. Only then would Niame relinquish the stories. What followed was a masterclass in trickery and ingenuity. Anansi didn't rely on strength or speed. He used his wits to outsmart each creature. To capture Asibo, he dug a deep pit and covered it with leaves, luring the leopard into the trap with the promise of an easy meal. For Emmobro, he crafted a gourd filled with water, tricking the hornets into believing it was a safe haven, only to seal them inside. Anini, the python, was convinced to stretch himself out along a branch so Anansi could measure him, only to be tied up in the process. And Emmosha, the elusive fairy, was caught when Anansi used a doll smeared with sticky gum to trap her. One by one, Anansi delivered the creatures to Niame, each victory a testament to his cunning. The sky god, though reluctant, could not deny the spider's triumph. True to his word, Niame handed over the stories and Anansi brought them down to earth, sharing them with all of humanity. From that day forward, stories became the birthright of everyone, not just the gods. This myth of Anansi and Niame is more than a tale of trickery. It's a celebration of intellect and resourcefulness. Anansi, though small and seemingly powerless, proves that wit and creativity can overcome even the mightiest of obstacles. His web, a delicate yet intricate structure, serves as a perfect metaphor for his approach: patient, strategic, and endlessly adaptable. The rivalry between Anansi and Niamh also highlights a universal truth: knowledge is power, but it's also a gift meant to be shared. Niamh's initial reluctance to part with the stories reflects the age-old struggle between those who hoard wisdom and those who seek to democratize it. Anansi's victory is a reminder that true strength lies not in brute force, but in the ability to think, adapt, and innovate. As we turn to the next rivalry, we'll see how trickster figures like Anansi continue to challenge authority, using their cunning to reshape the world and its stories. These tales remind us that even the smallest among us can achieve greatness not through power, but through the brilliance of our minds and the resilience of our spirits. In the rolling green hills of ancient Ireland, where legends are etched into the very landscape, a tale of loyalty, betrayal, and heartbreak unfolds. A story so poignant it has echoed through the centuries. This is the tragic duel between Cu Chulainn, the Hound of Ulster, and Ferdiad, his foster brother and closest friend. Their battle, immortalized in the Irish epic Táin Bo Cúailnge, is not just a clash of swords but a collision of unbreakable bonds and unyielding duty. Cu Chulainn and Ferdiad grew up together, trained side by side under the warrior woman Scathach, and forged a friendship as strong as the steel of their swords. They were more than brothers, they were comrades, confidants, and equals. But when war erupted between the kingdoms of Ulster and Connacht, fate forced them onto opposite sides. Ferdiad, bound by his oath to Queen Medb of Connacht, faced a terrible choice: to fight against his dearest friend or to betray his sworn duty. The Táin Bo Cúailnge paints their duel with aching detail, capturing the anguish of both warriors. For 4 days they fought on the river ford, their weapons clashing as fiercely as their hearts ached. Cu Chulainn, wielding his legendary spear, the Gíbolg, tried to reason with Ferdiad, pleading with him to abandon the fight. But Ferdiad, torn between honor and love, replied, "I cannot turn back, for my word is given. If I must die, I will die with my honor intact." The battle raged on, each strike carrying the weight of their shared history, each wound a reminder of what they were losing. In the end, it was Cu Chulainn who dealt the fatal blow, piercing Ferdiad's heart with the Gíbolg. But as Ferdiad fell, Cu Chulainn caught him, cradling his friend in his arms. The Táin describes his grief. He lamented over Ferdiad, and the tears of blood ran down his face. It was a victory that felt like defeat, a moment where the cost of loyalty to one's people was measured in the life of one's dearest friend. This myth is more than a tale of combat. It's a profound exploration of the pain of divided loyalties. Cu Chulainn and Ferdiad's rivalry represents the universal struggle between personal bonds and societal obligations, a theme that resonates across cultures and eras. Their story reminds us that the hardest battles are often fought not against enemies, but against the choices that tear us apart. As we turn to the next rivalry, we'll see how myths continue to grapple with the complexities of friendship, loyalty, and betrayal. These stories, though ancient, speak to timeless truths about the human condition, about the ties that bind us and the forces that pull us apart. And in their tragedies, we find not just sorrow, but a deeper understanding of the sacrifices we make for the people and principles we hold dear. In the vast expanse of the Pacific, where the ocean stretches endlessly and the stars guide the way, a daring hero set out to achieve the impossible. This is the story of Maui, the trickster demigod of Polynesian mythology, and his fateful encounter with Hain Nui Te Po, the goddess of death. Maui, known for his cleverness and boundless ambition, had already performed incredible feats, slowing the sun, pulling islands from the sea with his magical fishhook, and even stealing fire for humanity. But his greatest challenge lay ahead: to conquer death itself and grant immortality to humankind. Hain Nui Te Po, whose name means Great Woman of the Night, was no ordinary deity. She was the guardian of the underworld, a figure of immense power and mystery, her body adorned with obsidian teeth and her eyes glowing like embers. Maui believed that by entering her body and emerging again, he could reverse the cycle of life and death, freeing humanity from mortality. It was a bold plan, one that required cunning, courage, and a touch of audacity. Armed with his fishhook, a symbol of creation and ingenuity, Maui set out on his quest. He found Hain Nui Te-Po resting in the underworld, her massive form stretched out in slumber. Summoning all his skill, Maui transformed into a small creature and began his journey, determined to pass through her body unnoticed. But his plan was not without risk. The goddess's obsidian teeth and fiery insides posed a deadly threat, and Maui's fate hinged on his ability to move silently and swiftly. Yet, as with many tales of ambition, it was not a lack of skill that brought Maui's downfall, it was a moment of carelessness. As he entered the goddess, the birds who accompanied him could not contain their laughter. Their chirping woke Hain Nui Te-Po, and in a single, crushing motion, she ended Maui's quest. His body was shattered, his dream of immortality lost. From that day forward, death became an inescapable part of the human experience, a reminder of the limits even heroes must face. This myth of Maui and Hain Nui Te-Po is more than a cautionary tale. It's a meditation on the boundaries of human ambition. Maui's fishhook, a tool of creation and transformation, represents humanity's drive to shape the world and overcome its limitations. Yet his failure underscores a universal truth. Some forces, like death, are beyond even the most ingenious of schemes. The story invites us to reflect on our own aspirations, how far we're willing to go, and what we must accept as unchangeable. The imagery of Hain Nui Te-Po with her obsidian teeth and glowing eyes adds a layer of primal fear to the tale. She embodies the inevitability of death, a force both fearsome and necessary, reminding us of life's fragility and the balance between creation and destruction. Maui's attempt to outwit her, while noble, serves as a poignant reminder that some boundaries cannot be crossed, no matter how clever or determined we are. As we move forward, we'll see how myths from around the world continue to explore the mysteries of life and death, each culture offering its own unique perspective on these eternal questions. These stories remind us that while we may strive for greatness, there are limits to what we can achieve, and that accepting those limits is itself a form of wisdom. In the shadowy halls of Heorot, where the mead flowed freely and the songs of warriors echoed into the night, a darkness crept in, a terror that no sword or shield could keep at bay. This was the lair of Grendel, a monstrous descendant of Cain, whose very name struck fear into the hearts of all who heard it. For 12 long years, Grendel terrorized the Danes, slaughtering their warriors and leaving their great hall stained with blood. But from across the sea came a hero whose name would become legend, Beowulf, the Geatish warrior, whose strength and courage would face the ultimate test against this embodiment of chaos and evil. Grendel was no ordinary foe. As the Beowulf epic describes, he was a fiend out of hell, a creature spawned in that slime, conceived by a pair of those monsters born of Cain. His very existence was a curse, a manifestation of the chaos that lurked beyond the edges of civilization. Night after night, he descended upon Heorot, driven by a hatred for the joy and camaraderie of the warriors within. The Danes, powerless to stop him, could only watch as their kingdom teetered on the brink of despair. Enter Beowulf, a warrior whose reputation preceded him. When he arrived to aid the Danes, he didn't rely on brute force alone. Instead, he combined his immense strength with cunning strategy, understanding that Grendel's immunity to weapons would require a different approach. As the Beowulf text recounts, the hero declared, "I hereby renounce sword and the shelter of the broad shield, the heavy war board. Hand to hand is how it will be, a life and death fight with the fiend." Stripped of his weapons, Beowulf faced Grendel with his bare hands, a bold move that showcased his confidence and resourcefulness. The battle that followed was as brutal as it was iconic. Grendel, sensing no threat from the unarmed warrior, lunged at Beowulf with his monstrous claws, but the hero, seizing the moment, grappled with the beast in a deadly embrace. The Beowulf epic captures the intensity of the struggle. The hall clattered and hammered, but somehow survived the onslaught and kept standing. With a surge of strength, Beowulf tore Grendel's arm from its socket, sending the monster fleeing to his swampy lair where he would meet his end. This myth of Beowulf and Grendel is more than a tale of heroism. It's a profound exploration of the battle between order and chaos, light and darkness. Grendel, as a descendant of Cain, represents the primal evil that threatens to unravel society, a force that can only be defeated through courage and ingenuity. Beowulf's victory, while a personal triumph, also symbolizes the resilience of humanity in the face of overwhelming darkness. The imagery of Heorot, once a place of celebration, now a battlefield, serves as a powerful metaphor for the fragility of civilization. Beowulf's triumph restores balance, reminding us that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, heroism can prevail. As the Beowulf text proclaims, so times were pleasant for the people there until finally one, a fiend out of hell, began to work his evil in the world. As we move forward, we'll see how myths across cultures often feature monstrous adversaries, each one a reflection of the fears and challenges that define human existence. These stories remind us that the monsters we face, whether literal or metaphorical, are often tests of our strength, ingenuity, and resolve. In their defeat, we find not just victory, but a deeper understanding of the forces that shape our world. In the vibrant tapestry of Hindu mythology, where gods walk among mortals and cosmic forces shape destinies, one rivalry stands out as a timeless tale of justice and divine intervention. This is the story of Krishna, the eighth avatar of Vishnu, and Kamsa, the tyrannical king whose reign of terror cast a shadow over the land of Mathura. Their clash was not just a battle of strength, but a cosmic struggle between good and evil, a narrative that continues to inspire millions. Kamsa, driven by fear of a prophecy that foretold his death at the hands of his sister Devaki's eighth son, became a tyrant of unimaginable cruelty. Determined to defy fate, he imprisoned Devaki and her husband Vasudeva, killing each of their children as they were born. But when Krishna was born, divine forces intervened. Vasudeva, guided by the gods, smuggled the infant across the Yamuna River to the safety of Gokul, where he was raised by the cowherd Nanda and his wife Yashoda. As Krishna grew, so did his reputation. His divine nature revealed itself in countless ways, whether he was playfully stealing butter, charming the gopis with his flute, or slaying demons sent by Kamsa to kill him. The sound of Krishna's flute, often described as enchanting and otherworldly, became a symbol of his connection to both the mortal and divine realms. It was a melody that could soothe troubled hearts and summon the forces of nature, a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope and joy could prevail. Kamsa, however, remained relentless. Desperate to eliminate Krishna, he devised a final plan: to lure the young god to Mathura under the guise of a grand wrestling competition. What Kamsa didn't realize was that Krishna was no ordinary opponent. When the time came, Krishna confronted the tyrant, his divine powers surging as he faced the king who had caused so much suffering. The battle was brief but decisive. Krishna, embodying the triumph of Dharma righteousness over Adharma chaos, ended Kamsa's reign with a single, powerful blow. This myth of Krishna and Kamsa is more than a story of divine retribution. It's a profound allegory for the victory of good over evil. Krishna's flute, with its hauntingly beautiful tones, serves as a metaphor for the harmony and balance that Dharma brings to the world. It's a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, the forces of light can prevail, often in ways that are as unexpected as they are miraculous. The tale also underscores the Hindu belief in the cyclical nature of time and the inevitability of justice. Kamsa, for all his power and cruelty, could not escape the prophecy that sealed his fate. His downfall serves as a warning against the dangers of hubris and the futility of trying to defy the natural order. Krishna, on the other hand, represents the divine's role in restoring balance, a theme that resonates deeply in Hindu philosophy. As we move forward, we'll see how myths from around the world often feature divine interventions, where gods and goddesses step in to correct imbalances and guide humanity toward a brighter path. These stories remind us that the forces of good and evil are not just abstract concepts, they are woven into the very fabric of existence, shaping the destinies of both gods and mortals alike. In the realm of Greek mythology, where the boundaries between life and death blur, one story stands out as a haunting testament to the power of love and the fragility of human resolve. This is the tale of Orpheus, the greatest musician to ever live, and his desperate journey to the underworld to reclaim his beloved Eurydice. Armed with nothing but his lyre and his unwavering devotion, Orpheus dared to challenge Hades himself, the god of the dead, in a bid to defy the natural order and bring Eurydice back to the land of the living. Eurydice's death was sudden and tragic, a venomous snake bite that claimed her life on their wedding day. For Orpheus, the loss was unbearable. His music, once a source of joy and inspiration, became a lament that echoed through the forests and mountains. But Orpheus was not content to mourn. As Ovid writes in the Metamorphoses, "Love cannot be conquered, it conquers all." Driven by this unyielding love, Orpheus descended into the underworld, his lyre in hand, determined to sway even the coldest of hearts. The underworld was a place of shadows and silence, a realm where the living were not meant to tread. Yet, as Orpheus played his lyre, the music that flowed from his fingers was so achingly beautiful that it stopped even the tormented souls in their tracks. The river Styx, usually a barrier of despair, seemed to calm as his melodies drifted across its waters. The three-headed watchdog Cerberus lay down, subdued by the harmony. Even the Furies, relentless in their pursuit of justice, wept at his song. When Orpheus finally stood before Hades and Persephone, he made his plea not with demands but with the raw emotion of his music. "If I may not speak the truth," he sang, "let my lyre speak for me." Hades, moved by the depth of Orpheus's love, granted his request, but with one condition: Orpheus must lead Eurydice out of the underworld without looking back at her until they reached the surface. If he turned to look even once, she would be lost to him forever. The journey back was fraught with tension. Eurydice followed silently, her footsteps a fragile echo in the darkness. Orpheus, his heart pounding, resisted the urge to turn, focusing instead on the faint hope ahead. But as the light of the living world began to break through, doubt crept in. Had she truly been following him all this time? Was Hades deceiving him? In a moment of weakness, Orpheus glanced back, only to see Eurydice's outstretched hand dissolve into the shadows. Her voice, faint and heartbreaking, whispered farewell before she was pulled back into the depths. This myth of Orpheus and Hades is more than a story of love and loss. It's a profound exploration of human vulnerability. Orpheus's music, capable of moving gods and monsters alike, symbolizes the transcendent power of art and emotion. Yet his failure to trust the conditions set by Hades underscores the fragility of human resolve, a reminder that even the strongest love can be undone by doubt. The rivalry between Orpheus and Hades also reflects the eternal tension between life and death, love and loss. It's a narrative that resonates deeply because it speaks to the universal experience of grief and the lengths we go to for those we love. As Ovid poignantly writes, thus he sought to soothe his sick heart's pain with music. As we turn to the next rivalry, we'll see how myths across cultures continue to explore these themes of love and death, each one offering a unique perspective on the human condition. These stories remind us that the bonds we forge in life, though fragile, are what give our existence meaning, and that even in the face of loss, love leaves an indelible mark on the world. In the celestial realms of Chinese mythology, where gods and immortals reign supreme, one figure stands out as a symbol of defiance and unyielding spirit: Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. Born from a stone and gifted with extraordinary powers, Sun Wukong's journey from a mischievous trickster to a rebel against the heavens is a tale that captures the essence of freedom and self-determination. His rivalry with the Jade Emperor, the ruler of the celestial bureaucracy, is not just a clash of personalities, it's a battle that shook the very foundations of the divine order. Sun Wukong's rise to power was as unconventional as his origins. After mastering the arts of immortality and shape-shifting, he declared himself the Great Sage Equal to Heaven, a title that didn't sit well with the Jade Emperor. To placate the unruly monkey, the emperor offered him a position in the heavenly court, a lowly stable master's role, far beneath Sun Wukong's self-proclaimed status. Enraged by the insult, Sun Wukong unleashed his fury, wielding his magical staff, Rui Jingu Bang, a weapon capable of growing or shrinking at his will. With it, he wreaked havoc across the heavens, challenging the gods and defying their authority at every turn. The Journey to the West, one of China's greatest literary epics, vividly recounts Sun Wukong's rebellion. He fought the celestial army, outsmarted the gods' attempts to capture him, and even dared to eat the peaches of immortality meant for the Jade Emperor himself. His staff, Rui Jingu Bang, became an extension of his will, a symbol of his relentless pursuit of freedom and recognition. The imagery of the staff, capable of stretching to the heavens or shrinking to the size of a needle, mirrors Sun Wukong's own adaptability and defiance. It's a reminder that true power lies not in brute force, but in the ability to challenge the status quo and carve out one's own destiny. This rivalry between Sun Wukong and the Jade Emperor is more than a tale of rebellion. It's a profound exploration of individuality and the struggle against oppressive systems. Sun Wukong, with his irreverent humor and boundless ambition, represents the human desire for autonomy and respect. The Jade Emperor, on the other hand, embodies the rigid hierarchies and bureaucratic structures that often stifle creativity and self-expression. Their conflict is a timeless reminder that the fight for freedom is as much about breaking chains as it is about asserting one's worth. The myth also reflects the Chinese cultural reverence for balance and harmony. While Sun Wukong's rebellion is ultimately quelled, he is subdued by the Buddha and later redeemed as a protector of the monk Xuanzang. His story doesn't end in defeat. Instead, it becomes a journey of growth and enlightenment, showing that even the most defiant spirits can find purpose within a greater cosmic order. As we move to the next rivalry, we'll see how trickster figures like Sun Wukong continue to challenge authority across cultures, using wit and cunning to disrupt the established order. These stories remind us that rebellion, when driven by a desire for justice and self-determination, can be a powerful force for change, one that reshapes not just individual lives but the very fabric of the world. In the golden sands of ancient Egypt, where the gods walked among mortals and the Nile's waters whispered secrets of life and death, a tale of vengeance and resilience unfolded, a story that would define the power of maternal love and the lengths one would go to restore justice. This is the rivalry between Isis, the goddess of magic and motherhood, and Set, the god of chaos and betrayal, a conflict that began with the murder of Osiris and culminated in a battle of wits and willpower. After Set's treacherous act of killing and dismembering Osiris, scattering his body across the land, Isis refused to let her husband's death go unpunished. Her grief was immense, but so was her determination. Using her unparalleled mastery of magic, she embarked on a quest to piece together Osiris's body, reviving him long enough to conceive their son, Horus. But her mission didn't end there. Isis knew that for true justice to be served, Set's reign of chaos had to end. The contendings of Horus and Set, an ancient Egyptian text, captures the intensity of this rivalry. Isis, though not a physical combatant, became the orchestrator of Set's downfall. Her magic, described as the breath of life and the whisper of the stars, was her greatest weapon. In one episode, Isis transforms into a beautiful woman to deceive Set, luring him into confessing his crimes before the divine tribunal. Her cunning is unmatched, her strategies as intricate as the spells she wove. This myth is more than a tale of revenge. It's a profound exploration of the strength of maternal love. Isis's actions are driven not just by a desire for justice, but by her unwavering commitment to protect her son and secure his rightful place as the heir of Egypt. Her rivalry with Set becomes a symbol of the enduring fight against tyranny, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, love and determination can prevail. The imagery of Isis, often depicted with wings outstretched in protection, resonates deeply. She embodies the nurturing and fierce aspects of motherhood, a figure who will stop at nothing to shield her child and restore balance. Her story also highlights the role of powerful female figures in mythology, challenging the notion that strength and leadership are solely male attributes. As we reflect on this rivalry, we're reminded that myths often serve as mirrors, reflecting the values and struggles of the societies that create them. Isis's battle against Set isn't just a divine conflict. It's a timeless narrative about the fight for justice, the resilience of the human spirit, and the transformative power of love. Moving forward, we'll explore how myths across cultures feature powerful female figures who shape destinies, challenge norms, and redefine what it means to be a hero. These stories remind us that strength comes in many forms, and that sometimes the most profound victories are won not with swords, but with wisdom and unwavering resolve. In the shadow of Mount Olympus, where the gods ruled with unchallenged authority, one titan dared to defy the king of the gods himself. This is the story of Prometheus, the firebringer, and his fateful clash with Zeus, a rivalry that would ignite not just the flames of human progress, but also a timeless struggle between authority and innovation. Prometheus, whose name means forethought, was no ordinary titan. Known for his cunning and compassion, he saw potential in humanity that the gods had overlooked. While Zeus and the Olympians viewed mortals as mere playthings, Prometheus believed they were capable of greatness. His act of rebellion was as audacious as it was transformative. He stole fire from the gods and gifted it to humanity. This was no ordinary fire, it was the divine spark of knowledge, creativity, and civilization. With it, humans learned to cook, forge tools, and build cities, transforming the world from a place of survival to one of possibility. Zeus, however, was not one to overlook such defiance. The king of the gods, known for his wrath and pride, saw Prometheus's act as a direct challenge to his authority. To punish the Titan, Zeus devised a torment as cruel as it was poetic. Prometheus was bound to a desolate mountain peak where an eagle would feast on his liver each day. But because Prometheus was immortal, his liver would regenerate every night, ensuring his suffering was endless. The imagery of Prometheus's chains is haunting, a symbol of both his unyielding spirit and the heavy price of rebellion. Yet, even in his agony, Prometheus never relented. His defiance became a beacon of resistance, a reminder that the pursuit of progress often comes at great cost. This myth is more than a tale of gods and titans. It's a profound exploration of the tension between those who seek to control and those who strive to innovate. Prometheus's fire represents the unquenchable human desire to push boundaries, to question authority, and to create a better world. The rivalry between Prometheus and Zeus also reflects a universal truth that every act of rebellion carries consequences, but it can also spark transformation. Prometheus's gift of fire didn't just change humanity, it challenged the very order of the cosmos. His story reminds us that progress often begins with a single act of courage, even if it means standing alone against the forces of power. As we move forward, we'll see how myths like this one continue to explore the consequences of rebellion, both for individuals and for the worlds they seek to change. These stories remind us that the path to progress is rarely easy, but it's a journey worth taking, one that shapes not just our present, but the legacy we leave behind. In the vast, windswept plains and rugged canyons of Native American mythology, where stories are woven into the land itself, a cunning hero emerges, one who relies not on strength, but on wit and guile to overcome impossible odds. This is Coyote, the trickster, a figure as unpredictable as the wind, whose cleverness is matched only by his audacity. In one of his most famous tales, Coyote faces off against a monstrous adversary, a creature of immense power and destruction. But where brute force would fail, Coyote's ingenuity prevails, proving that even the smallest and seemingly weakest can triumph over the mightiest of foes. The monster in this story is no ordinary beast, it's a force of chaos, a shadow that looms over the land, devouring everything in its path. The people, desperate and afraid, turn to Coyote for help. Yet Coyote doesn't charge in with weapons or rage. Instead, he approaches the challenge with a plan as sharp as his cunning. Using his ability to transform, Coyote shifts his shape, becoming everything from a harmless old man to a fleeting shadow, always staying one step ahead of the monster. In one version of the myth, Coyote lures the creature to the edge of a cliff, convincing it to engage in a contest of strength. The monster, overconfident in its power, agrees. Coyote, ever the trickster, feigns weakness, allowing the monster to believe it has the upper hand. But as the creature leans over the edge, Coyote delivers the final twist, a clever maneuver that sends the monster tumbling into the abyss below. The land is saved not by force but by the brilliance of Coyote's mind. This myth is more than a tale of victory, it's a celebration of resourcefulness and adaptability. Coyote's transformations, his ability to shift forms and roles, symbolize the importance of thinking outside the box, of using creativity to solve problems that seem insurmountable. The monster, though powerful, is undone by its own arrogance, a reminder that even the greatest strength can be toppled by a clever mind. The rivalry between Coyote and the monster also reflects the values of the Native American cultures that tell his story. In a world where survival often depended on wit and adaptability, Coyote embodies the traits needed to navigate life's challenges. His victories are not just personal triumphs but lessons in resilience, teaching that sometimes the best way to face a giant is not to meet it head-on but to outthink it. As we reflect on this myth, we're reminded of the enduring power of trickster figures across cultures. From Loki in Norse mythology to Anansi in African folklore, these characters challenge the status quo, using their wits to disrupt and transform the world around them. Their stories remind us that intelligence and creativity are often the most powerful weapons we have. And so, Coyote's triumph over the monster becomes more than just a myth. It's a timeless lesson in the art of outsmarting adversity, a testament to the power of cleverness in the face of overwhelming odds. As we prepare to explore the next rivalry, we'll see how these themes of wit and transformation continue to shape the stories that define us. In the misty hills of ancient Britain, where the legends of chivalry and honor echo through time, there lies a story of betrayal and heartbreak so profound that it marks the end of an age. This is the tale of King Arthur, the once and future king, and his fatal confrontation with Mordred, his own illegitimate son. Their rivalry is more than a personal feud. It's a clash that brings about the fall of Camelot, the shining beacon of Arthur's reign, and with it, the end of a golden era. The seeds of this tragedy were sown long before the final battle. Mordred, born of Arthur's unwitting union with his half-sister Morgause, grew up harboring resentment and ambition. When Arthur left Camelot to pursue his quest for the Holy Grail, Mordred seized the opportunity to usurp the throne, spreading lies and sowing discord among the knights of the Round Table. By the time Arthur returned, the kingdom he had built on ideals of justice and unity was teetering on the brink of collapse. The final confrontation took place on the fields of Camlan, a desolate battlefield where father and son faced each other in a duel that would seal their fates. Thomas Malory, in his seminal work Le Morte d'Arthur, captures the moment with haunting clarity. And so they fought as it had been two lions, and either gave other many great strokes, till at the last they smote each other deadly. The imagery is stark: two figures, bound by blood yet divided by destiny, locked in a struggle that neither could truly win. Arthur, though wounded, struck the fatal blow, piercing Mordred's heart with his spear. But Mordred, in his final act of defiance, delivered a mortal wound to his father. As the battle raged around them, the once great knights of Camelot fell, their loyalty and valor unable to prevent the kingdom's collapse. Arthur, mortally wounded, was carried to the Isle of Avalon, where legend says he waits to return in Britain's darkest hour. This myth of Arthur and Mordred is more than a story of betrayal. It's a profound meditation on the fragility of ideals and the cost of human flaws. Mordred's treachery represents the darker side of ambition, a reminder that even the noblest of legacies can be undone by those closest to us. Arthur's downfall, while tragic, also speaks to the enduring power of his vision, a world built on honor and unity, even if it could not last. The fall of Camelot, as Malory writes, was not just the end of a kingdom but the end of an age. And thus endeth the noble tale of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, which was a noble fellowship, and none such shall ever be again. This poignant line underscores the myth's emotional depth, reminding us that even the greatest of empires are not immune to the forces of time and human frailty. As we conclude our exploration of these 30 mythological rivalries, we're reminded that myths are not just stories of gods and heroes, they are mirrors of the human experience. They explore the tensions between creation and destruction, loyalty and betrayal, ambition and downfall. Through these tales, we see our own struggles reflected, our triumphs and failures given form in the lives of gods and mortals alike. These stories remind us that the past is not just a collection of events but a living, breathing legacy that continues to shape who we are. Whether it's Arthur's tragic fall, the cunning of Anansi, or the resilience of Isis, these myths offer timeless lessons about the power of choice, the cost of ambition, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. And as we close this chapter, we carry these lessons forward, finding meaning not just in the myths themselves, but in the world they help us understand.